This video is sponsored by the Ridge Wallet. There are a handful of things that you will touch practically every day. Your phone, your mouse, your pet's little face, your keys, those succulent powdered boys, and of course, your wallet. And having used the Ridge Wallet for half a year now, I can tell you that it does not taste as silky smooth as a powdered donut. But it is silky smooth to the touch. The Ridge Wallet is an absolute thing of beauty, especially if you're tired of carrying around a big bulky leather wallet that breaks down your posture. With over 30 colors and styles, over 50,000 5-star reviews, and a lifetime warranty, it's not hard to see why this wallet has been one of the best changes I have made in 2022. The Ridge key case, by the way, has been equally as delightful. No more of Dean's art from the Iron Giant getting shoved into my pocket. The key case is a complete game changer if you want to declutter your keys. In fact, the Ridge has tons of products that you might adore, although I'm still waiting on the Ridge powdered donut dispenser. If you'd like to save up to 40% off on Ridge products through December 22nd, just in time for the holidays, visit ridge.com/Daryl or follow the link in the description. One more time, that's ridge.com/Daryl. Massive thank you to the Ridge for sponsoring, and with that said, let's talk Pokemon. I watch a lot of sports, real and fake. I like big crowds, big competition, big moments, and to hear this sound as often as I possibly can. But Daryl, what does this have to do with Pokemon? Alright then, let's talk Pokemon. Did you know that in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, when you use an attack like Bullet Seed that will land anywhere from 2 to 5 times, it goes like this. The attack animation plays. We wait to see if it'll go again. Attack, wait. Attack, wait. Attack, wait. In Pokemon Stadium, if you use an attack like this, it goes... What's that? Yeah, it's a hit! But Daryl, what does this have to do with sports? Well, you see, sports on TV are fun as hell. Much like Pokemon battles as a child growing up, sports as a grown-up are fast, hard-hitting, brutal, elegant. Passes in football scream through the air until they snap into place in a receiver's hands as they bring it down for a completion. Thunder shocks in Colosseum pelted the target. Basketball players seem to take gravity as simply a suggestion when they find an opening for a slam dunk. Hyper Beam on the silver screen looked genuinely dangerous. Baseball is boring for like 95% of the game, but when it goes, it goes. And what I've noticed over the years, having seen almost every sport I love on TV, as well as live in person, is that it feels sluggish in person. Don't get me wrong, it's exciting to be there. The atmosphere of a big ball game surrounded by raving fans is a blast, but somehow most of that intensity dissipates. It slows down. It seems like the players are moving through water. Visually, it's undercooked. And that's not just a product of having bad seats, by the way. I've sat close to the field, I've sat nosebleeds, I've sat ringside, and I've sat in the parking lot and watched on my phone, and somehow the action felt faster and stronger from the parking lot. And oddly, this drunkenly sluggish perception is the exact sensation I have gotten from pretty much all of the recent 3D Pokemon installments, Arceus and Scarlet Violet especially. I'll give you an example that I think really sums it up nicely. Watch this bite attack from Pokemon Colosseum. Cool, now watch this bite from Scarlet. Now before you immediately point the finger at the difference in character animations, I'm gonna do something else. Let me add this box so that you can't see the Pokemon, and I'll replay each. Here is Scarlet, and here is Colosseum. If I do the same for this spot from an AEW show last year, you might notice something similar. Even if you completely miss the action, one clip still seems to draw the eye a bit more. Because you see, yes, the Pokemon animations have not evolved well with the years, unfortunately. Long gone are the days where Honchkrow would tip his hat to you for defeating him. We are desperately far removed from Alakazam getting hit, then psychically walking himself back forward with his fingers while he lounged midair. The internet has thoroughly lamented Game Freak's fumbling of Pokemon animations, but I am not here to add to that pool of tears. Instead, what I'd like to do today is take you on a long walk on the beach, maybe pick up some seashells, watch the sunrise, and talk your ear off about camera work. I want to talk about why this feels slow, but this feels intense, why this hits hard, and why this doesn't without talking about Pokemon animations. We'll look at other turn-based battle systems, sports, cinema, cinematic, sport, sweaty men, and hopefully, by the time it's all said and done, we will have some practical advice for Game Freak and other developers that want to make a turn-based battle system that plays more fluid and hard-hitting than maybe it actually is. After all, the exact same thing is happening on this field and this field. It's no accident that one is much more alluring to the eye. Let's talk about it. There's this scene in The Raid 2. These two gentlemen are having a bit of a disagreement in the kitchen, as you do, so they are working through it. And what I love about this scene is that, like most great fights in cinema, every impact is palpable. The camera follows the assassin's leg as Rama catches it on the left, stays with it as it makes its way to the right, pans up as the assassin grabs Rama by the throat, cuts to a new angle, and follows Rama getting chokeslammed onto the table. You see it and go, God damn! His counter was countered, and our eyes were directed to exactly what was important. And the camera does a lot of this throughout this scene. It follows as the assassin is swung around, whip pans to sell the impact of the knee, tilts to a Dutch angle to match his skull getting slammed onto the surface, and pulls back at the same speed his face is pushed along the counter. The camera follows the bottle smashing into his dome, and then we're off to the races. What you notice in all of these shots, and in fact a lot of shots in fight scenes, is that the camera is locked onto exactly what's moving in order to double down on the cessation of motion, whether that motion is jarring, smooth, or disorienting. Instead of the fight taking place in one still perspective, by following the movement, the camera can add impact to whatever action is being filmed. Not all action needs that help, but it does help. This is something that Hollywood action designer Young Lee, who has worked on these films, is a big fan of.
I did this seminar with Garrett Brown, the creator of the Steadicam. His big thing was always follow the action. If the subject is moving, you're moving. If the subject stops, you stop. I take that principle a lot in the camera movement. So if I see a hook is coming this way, so the camera's gonna dutch a little that way. And when it stops, when you do the block, camera stops.
And this principle of following the action is what takes a football flying through the air from feeling like this to feeling like this. It's a subtle thing that communicates a true sense of speed and fluidity to actions, and it's why there are so many moments where battles in Pokemon nowadays just look muted. If we go back to the bite example, in Scarlet, we have a single static shot. Gabite moves, animated teeth appear in front of Wattrel, Wattrel reacts to the blow, attack done. The camera sits still in this over-the-shoulder perspective, reminiscent of the old Game Boy bouts. The reason the Colosseum attack feels much more alive is because the camera follows the action like my dogs follow the ball. You get a shot of Umbreon that dollies out as we read that it uses bite. The camera tracks as Umbreon runs up, cuts to Zigzagoon just as the attack is about to land, shakes upon impact, and whip hands as the target falls back. So much more happens here before you even get to the animations. And the same was the case in Stadium. We go from the attack animation shot, then cut to the Pokemon being hit with a healthy dose of screen shake, or the camera whipping back in response to the attack's velocity. If you've ever watched an action flick or a pro wrestling match, you've almost certainly seen the camera cut right as someone is getting punched, or kicked, or powerbombed to make the blow feel more jarring than it actually is. And this is exactly what Genius Sonority and Nintendo EAD liked to do with these old console stadium style games. Now it's worth noting that Scarlet and Violet, as well as a lot of the 3D Game Freak Pokemon games, do in fact do this for some attacks and even take it a step further and use zooms and whip pans to add to the impact. Like, here's a sequence from my Scarlet playthrough where the camera zooms in for this Aqua Tail, backs out, and then pans around to follow the play rough landing. It watches like an actual exchange in a fight. But for some reason, we only get that for some attacks, while several others are left to just play out on that original static over-the-shoulder shot. They kind of cleverly got around this in Arceus because you control the camera, which means you watch the battle from whatever angle you want. They really said, fine, you film it then, asshole. But it worked here and in Scarlet Violet for the open world aspects of both games. During battle, you can maybe peep over and see what other Pokemon are around, check if you have any livestock buying tickets to watch the show. Maybe you catch a glimpse of a shiny just across the way, maybe you panic and forget to save before you start the battle and it just fucking explodes. Yes, you can look around and play Pokemon in first person if you really want to, but with this freedom, you don't get the kind of intentional camera work that really sells the action the way it's meant to be felt. Game Freak's philosophy seems to be to only pull out the fancy cinematography on big attacks, whereas in Stadium and XD, even the debuffs and poison damage deserved their own shot. Pokemon Colosseum has been my favorite battle system in the franchise for years, but until I started researching for this video, I didn't fully understand why. One of those reasons is because the camera work in Colosseum's battles is ridiculously active. When Pokemon enter the arena, attack, get hit by an attack, or are knocked out, the camera is locked onto their most mobile point, which means instead of a static shot or simply screen shake when they get hit, any amount they are knocked back is communicated not only in their actual movement, but how the camera follows that movement. When Larvitar gets slammed here, the camera whips back with it. When Golem comes out, the camera is so sensitive that during his idle animation as he sort of stands at the ready, you can almost feel him inhaling and snorting like an actual wild animal would. You see the camera move with the animations and you're like, I think I smell that Pokemon right now. It takes what would ordinarily just be a character model and adds a bit of life to it. And as an aside, screen shake is something we've all seen, right? Black and White used it to communicate the weight of a Pokemon landing. Lots of turn-based battle systems use it on impact. But what I find even more impressive is how the tracking camera in Colosseum is a little bit more dynamic than that. It tells you not only how powerful the attack that landed was, but also a lot about the Pokemon that is being hit. Metang is airborne, untethered. When it's hit, it tries to resist but then goes flying and recoil, and so do we. When Camerupt takes a blow, he's sturdy. The camera just buckles as he does. And although I don't think it did it as well, Stadium did this too. Watch how the camera sways to follow this goofy Jigglypuff knockout animation.
Oh! Is it down and out?
And I realize it's tough for Pokemon nowadays to really take advantage of this lock-on camera philosophy because the character model animations aren't as, well, animated as they once were, but there's still a lot that they can do. For example, the Game Freak camera shot since the beginning of the 3D era for a knockout has been to give a simple pan around upon knockout. They could always take a page out of the Final Fantasy VII playbook and simply have a different camera pan depending on the Pokemon. Depending on what enemy you run into in 7, the camera will swing in and settle wherever best complements the situation. If you're surrounded, if it's a preemptive strike, if the enemy is big, if the enemy is small, if the enemy is enemies. Adding some variety to the knockout composition and going with something other than this exact pan every time would really go a long way in masking the monotony of the battle and disguise some of the flat animations. The same could be said for when Pokemon enter the field. You could tell that in X and Y they were really trying with the start of battle. We get a pan around the trainer to reveal the battlefield as they're throwing the ball for a really nice shot. The screen shakes as the Pokemon pops in, and then we get an old westerny snap zoom to the Pokemon's face. I likes that. In Omega Ruby, we get a callback to Black and White where the screen shakes when the Pokemon hits the ground to sell their weight. The camera does the same thing when I step on the scale in the morning. Then, they kind of got away from that. In Sun and Moon, they dropped the screen shake. In Sword and Shield, there is no fun zoom. In Arceus, you get neither. Scarlet Violet doesn't do much there either. When it comes to entering the field, I would love to see Game Freak take the extra step and bring the screen shake and zooms back, at least in some capacity. And if they give all of the attacks the same treatment they give the big attacks, then we would be cooking with fire. Go ahead and give poison damage and recoil and buffs and debuffs their own shots as well. A counter argument might be that if you do that, then the big attacks don't feel as big by comparison. I don't fully agree, but I see your point. Another piece that I think we've been ignoring a bit is that not just Pokemon, but most turn-based RPG battle systems are split into two phases. The point where the attack animations are played, and the point where you are navigating a menu deciding what to do next. Some time-based battle systems overlap these two phases, but to keep in line with Pokemon's design, let's stick with true turn-based camera work. Game Freak's biggest flaw in battles lies here, in my opinion. The reliance on this static, over-the-shoulder shot. Like we said, it's a callback and that warms our hearts, but it has a few issues. For starters, if you watch a ton of battles, and I actually mean proper gym battles in Scarlet Violet where you don't control the camera like in Arceus, you'll find that this is the shot Game Freak likes to default to the most anytime anything is about to happen. Select a move, return here. Attacks finish, return here. Gym leader talks, return here real quick, go to B-roll. Ayano is about to send out a new Pokemon, let's read it from here. The same goes for pretty much every 3D Game Freak Pokemon. It's sort of their loading screen disguise for battles, their crawl between the cracks in big AAA titles. A lot of time is spent here in this static shot. If they must keep this, one subtle thing that they could do is take a page out of Octopath Traveler's book. You see, in Octopath, most of your time in battles take place here as you select what to do next, but somehow, it feels much more natural by comparison, and I think that's because it's not truly a static shot. If you hit it with the black box from earlier and compare, you'll notice that the camera is sort of handheld. It's flowing, it's moving, it's vibing, it's breathing with the pace of the battle. Yes, there are dollies in and slow down to accentuate the animations, but a great majority of your time is spent here as you decide how to use your turn. And because it's not completely still, it's a lot less like characters are just standing around waiting to attack in an RPG. Another way to prevent the whole standing around thing is to have your characters dance between turns like in Mario & Luigi Superstar Saga. This has nothing to do with cameras, it just makes me smile. I believe Library of Ruina and Shin Megami Tensei do the handheld active camera as well, and it adds a level of urgency that you miss out on when you're just sitting in one spot. Don't get me wrong, static shots in film have their place in action as well. Like there's this one in John Wick where you don't actually see all of the fight because it's filmed in the hallway of this library. When you watch, you kind of become a bystander and it's almost comedic, but in the very same scene we get another mostly still shot from the floor that does have just enough handheld movement to complement the brutality of this fight. In a nutshell, the camera sitting still for a long period of time is the enemy when you're trying to portray heart-throbbing action, which is why a static shot like this, if it must be there for Game Freak to load between attacks, could be greatly dressed up with a little bit of an active camera that dances with the ferocity of the battle as opposed to being sat on a tripod in the corner. And again, Game Freak haven't completely shit the bed. While you are selecting your attack, there is a B-roll that plays to vary up what you're looking at and add a bit of flavor to the scene. You get close-ups of the trainers, the Pokemon, pans over the battlefield, wide shots to add some scale like you sometimes get in sports. I really enjoyed these wides in Sword and Shield. It made the battles feel grand in scale before you even Dynamaxed, which I still contend should be called kaiju morphing. The reason Sword and Shield had these giant wides, by the way, was to establish space for the giant mons before they came out. Or at least that's why I think they were there. Establishing space is really important in cinematography. This cut we talked about earlier wouldn't make sense without this overhead pan in between every turn. It shows you the space the Pokemon are traveling through. Having seen this, our minds can fill in the blanks of what happened between here and here. It's why Stadiums 1 and 2 started each turn like this, and why some attacks in this over-the-shoulder perspective are kind of awkward without a cut. The space in between is unused, there's just a sudden bear trap on the other side. Sure, with beams or projectiles it's fine, but not every attack is long range. It's equally important that if space is established, that it's for a purpose. Remember that big force push moment in Revenge of the Sith? Well, before we get to that and this sequence comes to an end, we cut wide to show how big the room is first, then cut really close to sell this dire struggle between two former friends, so that when they go flying, it's not too jarring or confusing. We know where they are, we know why we were just shown this wide shot of the room, and we understand the consequence of them being blown back. This is what the menu B-roll does for Pokemon, and specifically what the super wide shot does for Dyna and Gigantamaxing. As a viewer, if you show me the space, it tells me that it will have a purpose, which is why I think this really wide perspective is only in Sword and Shield. Fans, flying space wizards, giant Pokemon, everything on camera should be intentional. Speaking of intention, one thing I love that Atlas games do is shift the camera depending on what you are selecting. In SMT5, when you toggle between enemies to decide whom to attack, the camera snaps to them such that they are centered in the shot. The same goes for Tokyo Mirage Sessions, which also adjust the camera based on where you are in the menu. It starts up close as you select what action you'll take, whip pans around once you've opened the skills menu, then pulls back wide and snaps to which target you like to hit once you've decided on an attack. The menu is made exciting this way. It's much more fitting with the pace of battle that we imagine these fights to be, and deciding what to do invites you to be an active part of the process that's involved with the action rather than just an auxiliary necessity while your party stands around mid-fight. Of course, some of this doesn't work when it's a 1v1 Pokemon battle and there's only one target, but it just goes to show that if you want to, you can get a little more creative than a menu and some B-roll. But when you take the dynamic menus, the snap zooms, the shots to establish space, the screen shake, the tracking cams, the whip pans, the active shot, and put it all together, you can see how powerful a tool camera work can be in any generation. It's the reason a game like Valkyrie Profile from 1999 feels somehow way more free-flowing than This feels like a low blow. Okay, allow me to reel this fish back in a bit. We need some balance. I saw a post on Reddit back in 2020 that I think best illustrates that throwing everything at the wall to see what sticks just makes a mess. What this gentleman does is find a random week of pro wrestling, find a random match from each show that week, and on a random minute in each match, count up how many times the director cuts to a new angle. Like we said earlier, cuts are good for selling impact, and since pro wrestling is more of a violent storytelling dance than a real fight, cuts are used to sell the moves. He makes the point that WWE's stuff, especially Monday Night Raw, gives him headaches because there are just far too many cuts. It's jarring, and he would love some still shots so that his mind can actually digest the action. It's the same feeling I got watching this scene from Snake Eyes. It's a fun fight, but there is so much uninterrupted camera shake that even editing this, I have to look away. And I think we've all seen scenes in movies like this that just felt overcooked. He references a Jackie Chan interview from a video by Every Frame a Painting, which makes this like a reference within a reference. Referenceception. And in that video, Tony makes the point that a lot of Jackie's fights work because there aren't too many cuts. By staying with one static shot, it allows the rhythm of the fight to unfold and the choreography itself to stand out. By chopping and slamming fights up like this, you tarnish what might otherwise be impressive to the naked eye. Cuts definitely have their place, as do zooms and whip pans, but sometimes the action itself is enough. Probably the best example of this is the Old Boy hallway fight. If you haven't seen it, it's tremendous, and it all takes place in one continuous shot. No cuts, no zooms, no screen shake, just a dolly to track the action, and it allows the viewer a chance to soak up everything on screen as it happens. animations. Every detail, every swing, every kick, every stab, every tear, every grasp. It's a buffet for the pupils, a moving museum piece. It's plenty for you to take in all at once without the need to trick the eye with overwhelming camera work. Simply a genuinely raw and gritty experience. Pokemon, however, does not have this level of choreography, so we have to dress things up a little bit. I think the lesson here, if you are wanting to make a captivating turn-based battle system or are Game Freak, is to strike a balance between throwing out so much fancy camera work that is jarring to the eye and barely using it at all. What you want is to use everything we've talked about today intentionally to dress up where animations fail. You want to stitch the battle and the player's decisions during that battle together such that every turn and every action flows and crashes just like an actual showdown would. And when you do it right, when you bring all of these ingredients together harmoniously, you get Persona 5. Boom, pull off the mask, cut wide to establish space, enemies pop out, we see them all. Tiny screen shake as they each materialize. Camera pulls back more as the squad Circus Olays onto the battlefield. Persona, what we doing? Camera pans back as you crack open the menu. Wait a minute, order, let's think about it. Camera pans back. Nah, I'm good. Camera moseys back in. What if I pull out the blicky? Camera goes all western, over the shoulder perspective, enemy down the barrel. Which one's catching the slug? Wait a minute, let's get them all in one go. Persona, select them all. Camera pans up. Here it comes, baby. Hit him with that screen shake. This is what I really sound like when I play this game. By the way, up until now, one continuous shot, no static cam, no cuts. Persona 5's battle system is oozing with style, but everyone always points to the menus, the animations, and the music, not realizing the camera is the unsung hero, the offensive line, shooting little fireworks through your visual cortex. Page turns between turns, screen shake, zooms, tracking cams, nothing is without intent. Everything only serves the purpose of flowing to the next bit of action. There is a rhythm to each and every encounter, which is exactly what you want in a turn-based battle system. And this whole video has been about Pokemon, but one of my favorite titles in Final Fantasy X is just as guilty of sitting around on a tripod as well for good stretches of that game. Not every game can or should go full Hollywood, but we need more personas. We need more games like Grandia 3, where the camera follows the focal point of the battle and bobs and weaves between encounters to wherever the action happens to be. It has cuts when they're needed, but it holds on to these continuous shots as long as it can. You watch a battle for too long, and Michael Keaton walks in. This isn't Grandia 3, it's Birdman. The same can be said of Valkyrie Profile, like we mentioned earlier, wides to establish space, zooms to direct your attention to the action, tracking cams to sell the intensity of attacks. I still haven't touched the Yakuza franchise, but I'll be damned if it doesn't do this exact same thing. And once again, these games all get the opportunity to do a lot more with their camera than Pokemon does because we're talking several characters and enemies on screen at once instead of just a tennis match. So maybe the real solution is to give us more double battles or even bring back those funky rotation battles from Black and White. And I get that exploration is this generation's wet dream for pretty much every AAA game franchise, but along the way, Game Freak, let's not neglect one of the most integral parts of the experience. Pokemon battles can be leaps and bounds more visually stunning than they are now before you even touch the animations or the other issues. Anyways, I hope that this video was of value to you, and I suppose, in closing, the love for this franchise is unparalleled. It's evidenced in the fact that Pokemon is the highest grossing media franchise of all time. The internet collectively wept when Ash finally won the championship for the first time this year. I haven't seen a stocked shelf of Pokemon cards in a Target in over 3 years, and the sales for Scarlet and Violet in 1 week were unprecedented. As much as I would love for the Pokemon Company to go hire Monolith Soft or Atlas or Intelligent Systems or Jesus, they could probably hire Jesus with that kind of money, to develop their next Pokemon game, there is a charm to Game Freak's work, a heart behind their version of Pokemon that I don't know if I'll ever be able to not miss if they don't make these. So if you're listening, Game Freak, go watch an action movie. Go watch some sports, go watch some wrestling, go play Persona, go play Grandia, go play with a camera, and follow the action. Hello. Thank you for watching. Thank you for a great year. This isn't scripted, can you tell? My dear friends, it has been a lovely 2022, and I am tired. What is going to happen next is I'm going to rest for a couple of weeks. This is the last upload of the year. I'll be back probably mid to late January, roughly. It's been a very fun year, and I've learned a lot about myself. This may not have been the best performing year for the channel, but it was the best for my personal growth. I learned a lot about myself as a writer, as a creator, as an editor, and I feel like I'm starting to understand how to make videos that I don't necessarily feel obligated to make, more so videos that I'm actually proud of. And that is a wonderful feeling. Before I go, I want to say thank you so much to all the Patreon supporters who make this show possible, especially this month's featured patrons, Ulrich, Oh My, Jake Adams, Calamite, Golden Pat, Austin Van Heitzma, Silvumbrion, and Coco Marie. I did all those in one take. That was nice. If you want to join the Patreon and help support the show, for $1 a month, you can get all kinds of bonus content, live streams, early access, thumbnail, preference voting, all that nonsense. It's over here. There's going to be a button I'll put on screen. Make sure to go hit that up, donate to the show if you want, and have a lovely holiday season. From my family to yours, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy Hanukkah, anything that you celebrate this time of year. Just please enjoy some time with your family, enjoy some time with your loved ones, enjoy some time off, rest, relax, get ready for the new year, and as always, my friends, please have yourself a damn good one.